What's up, guys? Want to do a quick update on the Jeep. Been getting a lot of views, a lot of feedback on it, had a lot of questions on it, so wanted to try to cover that stuff today. If you haven't seen the other videos, it's a 96 Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's the ZJ. It's got the 5.2 liter V8 in it, automatic transmission, and I believe it's a 249 transfer case. So it's all-wheel drive, and then it also has 4 low. And basically, just to give you a rundown on things, I've been getting a lot of questions about the suspension. It's on a 4.5 inch Rubicon Express Superflex, I believe is what it's called. So 4.5 inch all suspension lift. There's no body lift or anything like that, and there's no coil spacers in it. It's just the lift springs and then longer shocks. And something I ended up doing, you see that strap there? Let me get a close-up on this in case you guys need limiting straps. This Baird, however you say that, great product, really nice straps. Get the super double thick ones so they don't stretch out. But basically what was happening is when I'd go off-roading, the suspension would flex out so much that I was breaking shocks up here, because the shock was the only thing limiting the suspension travel. And so I got new shocks. I didn't want to break another set, obviously, so I got these limiting straps. I took the old bump stops off because they were so short they weren't going to do anything anyways after the lift. So I took the old bump stops off, and that's what this bolt was for, is a bump stop. And basically I attached these straps, and all I did to figure out the length of the strap, you can find these on eBay or just Google them, but basically I flexed it out like I have it flexed right now, just to where the coil is hanging down, but it's not gonna like come out, you know what I mean? And also I'll show you on the other side how it's bottomed out. It's actually tucking the tire up. So you just gotta experiment and, you know, pull up on something like this, just in a shopping center or whatever, flex it out to where you feel your max flex is, and then measure for your shocks and measure for your limit straps. And so you just measure from bolt hole to bolt hole. I went ahead and went to the shock mount. You measure that, and then you order the strap. And it doesn't hurt to go a little shorter, because worst case scenario, you're just going to limit your flex a little bit. But what ends up happening is it'll stretch out a little bit after the first couple times you flex them out. So now that prevents things like flexing too much to where my coil spring falls out. You've probably seen that one on YouTube. I actually flexed out so much the coil spring fell out of the truck and rolled down the hill. So it keeps things like that from happening. Really, you should invest in these limiting straps. So again, it's 4.5 inch lift. I have not done anything to the drive shafts. Let me get underneath here. I haven't done anything to them. As far as I know, they're completely stock. There's a transfer case. I'm getting ready to either replace or rebuild that. And I don't know if I'm gonna do a swap or not. I'm gonna talk to some people and see, you know, what someone with more experience could tell me on these. But as far as I know, the front drive shaft too has not been modified. But you guys tell me if I'm wrong, because I'll tell you right now, I'm not an expert on this stuff. But as far as I know, this is a stock Driveline. I'm not having any vibration issues with the lift. I'm not having any problems at all. I can flex the front out just like the back, no issues. So hopefully that answers you guys' questions. But like I said, if this is not aftermarket, or excuse me, if this is aftermarket, let me know so I'm not giving people bad advice. So there you go. There's the control arms for the front there from the Rubicon kit, and there's my lift springs and the shocks. And oh, the other important thing, let me go back to the back and see these, even though it's a short arm, the rear control arms, the lower control arms are adjustable, and that works out good because you can tell when this thing flexes out, it really brings the back tire toward the front of the truck because it's a short arm. If I had a long arm, it wouldn't do that. So it's good to have adjustable, so you can just barely clear the body here, and then when it completely goes up, you can see where that rubber tire rub is. When it completely tucks up in there, you know, it's aligned well too. So it's great to have adjustable lower control arms even on a short arm kit. And while I'm showing you this, people have been asking me a lot of questions about, you know, what trimming did you have to do for 35 by 1250 tires? And the answer is not a whole lot. In the back, the problem I was having is this bumper. You can tell I've cut that. It used to come out, you know, to right here and go down. And so I just masked it off with tape and cut it. I think I used a Dremel tool, I don't remember. Actually, I might have used snips. But I just cut it because when the tire would tuck way up in there, I'll show you on the other side, it would pop the bumper off. There's like a clip in here somewhere and it'd pop it off. It was really annoying. So I did a little trimming there. You can see some of this has been banged just with a hammer, and try to tuck this up under here, this little body seam. But when I flex out a lot and the tire tucks in, it pulls this back down. But it's not cutting my tire anymore, so that's good. I just kind of leave it, but I could definitely cut this off. So on the back, I really didn't have to do that much trimming. Did get into this a little bit, banged on that and cut on that, just to get me a little clearance because this is so close. So that's about it for the back. The front, I removed this trim piece here to get a little bit more clearance, and you can see this has been trimmed as well. Trimmed this, and all the way up here, all this plastic trim right here has been trimmed, but this has not been. So I stopped right there. And again, just, you know, flex your Jeep out, get it flexed out and check it out. You know, see how much clearance you need and just work on the area and then flex it out again and come back and work on it some more if you didn't get the clearance. But in here, you know, a little banging down there really didn't do too much in here. Okay, but there is a problem, at least on my Jeep. Right here, I got some kind of weird, I don't know what this is, to be honest. Probably some kind of smog crap, I don't know, you guys tell me, but you can see my tires are just ripping this apart. When I turn sharp, my tire will come up and catch that and I'll hear it. So, you know, whatever that is probably needs to be relocated, but the Jeep's running fine. It passed smog. And then up in here, just some more little trimming and banging. Like I said, just, you know, get it flexed out and see how much room you need. Bang on a little bit, trim on a little bit, and then flex it out again. Just keep doing that until you get dialed in. Same thing with the suspension straps. Just keep testing it out, keep getting it dialed in, keep an eye on it, make sure things aren't stretching out, make sure you're not slicing your tires. So here's a quick shot of the front suspension. Again, Rubicon Express 4.5 inch Super Flex. So those are the silver springs there, pretty dirty. There's the quick disconnects for the front sway bar. And another question, I am not running a sway bar in the rear, okay? And then I believe these are the Rubicon shocks that came with it. I didn't ever break the front ones, I just broke the back ones, so now I got some cheap rough countries on there. And take you over to the other side, but also on these tires. I've been pretty happy with the Pro Comp X-Terrains. They're good tires, and these are actually new old tires. Got a knock on my door just randomly one day on my lunch break, and it was the maintenance manager at my apartment complex. He's got a little Jeep Wrangler on 35 1250s, and he had these tires on there, and he was going to downgrade to a 33, and he noticed I had these exact same tires, the exact same size, 15-inch rim, but in much worse shape. These don't have a ton of tread on them, but they're not all dry and cracked like my other ones were. They're in a lot better shape. And so I picked up 5 of them for $300 I think it was. So, you know, I figured that was a good deal. Got them swapped over on here, and they do have a little more tread. I can hear them howling more, so I know they got more tread on them. And like I said, they're just softer. I was actually ripping treads off my other tires when I get out in the rocks because they were just so dry. So really like these tires. But you want to flex it out and keep checking it because you don't want to slice your tires up. You should see my old ones. I got rid of them, but they just had like slices and cuts where the fender, you know, wasn't dialed in. So just be mindful of that. Make sure you dial it in. And by the way, these are 15x7, the stock alloy wheels for I think 96 to 98 ZJs. I think they're only 7-inch wide, 15x7. And so there is a back spacing issue with these. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but let me see if I can get up in there. There you go. See that aluminum that aluminum piece between the wheel and the brake. I want to say that's an inch or an inch and a half, probably an inch and a half, whoops. And it's an aluminum spacer. You can get it on eBay. Basically it has holes drilled in it that you just bolt to the truck. You know, you take the tire off, the wheel off, and you just bolt the spacer to the truck, and then the spacer has its own studs, and that's what you bolt the wheel to. And I haven't had problems balancing or anything with these. So that's what you need though, because when you flex the suspension out, go over to the other side, you can see how much the axle's tipping. And when you flex the suspension out, if your wheels aren't lined up right, you know, if the back spacing's not right, you won't clear stuff like this. You know, without those spacers, I would clear this fender, but on the inside, up in there, I don't know how well you can see that, I wouldn't clear that. I'd be rubbing too much, I'd be damaging the tire. So again, you gotta dial it in and get the right back spacing on there, so that you're just barely tucking up into the fender, not slicing your tire up, but at the same time not wedging against this too much. You know, a little rubbing like this, that's okay, but more than that, to where you're actually putting stress on turning the wheels, you know, and you're making the truck fight itself, you don't want that. So a little bit like this is okay. And also, you know, if it's metal versus rubber, metal usually wins. So you want to get it lined up right. Just flex it out and see what you got to work with. But I mean, you can see how much flex you can get on these short arm kits, but I can't wait to go to the 7-inch Iron Rock off-road long arm kit. I'm gonna buy the bolt-on one and install it on here, and possibly go to 37s. I might stay with 35 1250s. We'll see what happens. But this thing flexes out really good, and I haven't had any problems with it. Definitely recommend the Jeeps. I like the ZJs. Another add-on I'm going to look at pretty soon is a locker for the front. I want to get an air locker, because, you know, sometimes when you really need that traction, this thing will, the back is actually posi traction in this. It kind of tears up the tires on the street, but it's nice off-road, because most of the time the rear end will push the front end over stuff. But every once in a while I get in a situation where just one of my tires is wedged against a rock and the other one's just sitting there spinning. So I definitely want to look into an air locker for the front, and probably change the gearing too. I never changed the gearing when, you know, this thing got the big tires on it. And so it's kind of a dog. Like around town, I don't keep it in, or I take it out of overdrive, because otherwise the RPM's just way too low. So I need to get gears in here to correct that problem, and that way it'll stay in overdrive on the highway and stuff. I mean, it will, but if you hit the slightest hill, it'll kick down, and it just acts like it doesn't know what gear it wants to be in, because the tires are so huge. And also my speedometer's off because of the tires. So need to work on that. But it's been a great rig. It does everything off-road, and you know, I've got some rusty stuff on there. In the other video you've seen, I got the Rusty's tie rod in the front, track bar, adjustable track bar, drag bar, but I did have a steering stabilizer that mounted onto the differential and then came over here and clamped onto the tie rod. That thing got busted up the first time we took it off-roading. So I just got the one that's in the stock location up there, but it still handles pretty nice. I do get a little bump steer. My alignment's good, but you know, trying to keep it straight on the highway at high speed is definitely a chore. And you know, in turns it feels like it handles really well, it's tight and everything, but it's just, you know, it seems to wander a little bit on the highway. I think my steering box is weak and old, either needs to be rebuilt or replaced, and maybe want to reinforce the metal area that the steering box is bolted to. So I'm gonna look into that. But just wanted to kind of give you guys an update, since you were asking so many questions and it was getting so many views. So haven't done anything else to the suspension yet. I'm not going to do any coil spacers or anything like that. I'm just waiting for the long arm kit, and that's just, you know, whenever I'm ready to spend the money, I'll go for that. So great Jeep. If you have any questions or need me to get a closer look on something else, let me know, and whenever I have time I'll shoot a quick video. So hopefully this answers most of the questions though for you guys looking to run 35s on a ZJ with a 4.5 inch lift. So all right, have a good one, guys.